Welcome back. We're going to look at Rio. We're going to look at Bermuda. There's black flags that were, black flags that weren't. How close is too close? How much do we want these drivers pushing at each other? How much risk can we be willing to take out there? Well, let's go and take an inside look. I'm joined on the show today by Craig Mitchell, Chief Umpire. Craig, it's great to have you with me as always.
Yeah, good to see you, Stevie.
Yeah, it's been great action. Well, we've been some tight moments. I'm not sure I've completely seen eye to eye with you on all of them, but I think I'm looking forward to you proving me wrong on some of these starts. We'll go back to Rio Race 7 and the French black flag.
Okay, hold the angle, no lower for me. Up in. Big wing, big wing.
What a position for them to be in. Bond's Flying Rouge, they're clean at the top, and the Swiss, they've got a chance to lead at mile one.
This is the umpires. Penalty France, windward boat not keeping clear. Black flag, you are disqualified from the race.
Play umpires have given a black flag diving in at the top there. Too risky. Oh, Contant de la Pierre, what an end to their regatta here in Rio.
I'm in the boat ahead.
Yes, I think what was so interesting with this one was from my camera angle, I was looking at the other end of the line and we see France coming in from the right-hand side of the screen, coming in pretty hot, weren't they, at the top of the line there? And it was just amazing to see them try and squeeze through. It was really, really tight. I kind of missed it because we were calling the start looking back towards Sugarloaf Mountain. But yeah, we see them sort of dive in. It all looks quite clear on the camera there. But as we come back to see on some onboard shots, we'll then get to look on board the German boat, I believe, next is what's going to come up. And we'll see them come here. We're on board the German boat. So we're going to be looking out of the right-hand corner. We can see there in front of the boat, the red marker buoy. And it's coming in tight. Australians are off the foil. Germany put it onto H1 to try and just slow up. Now we start to accelerate in towards the mark. Here come the French. Oh, and you can just see Eric, right-hand side. They have to really turn the wheel. So tight, clearly, but you get a different view, Craig, don't you? You get to look on it on the umpap.
Yeah, the umpaps, it's a very emotionless, very 2D emotionless. Just all the data, and you see France coming in, and so they're at risk, and the course, the speed, and so you're looking at them going, are they going to get through, or are the Germans going to have to take avoiding action? And you see the Germans turn down, and you go, well, was it a reasonable apprehension? Did they have to do that turn down? And for us, it was just a little bit too close. I think if you did all the calculations, you might find that France got through with like 2 meters to spare. But you think, well, that's probably a little bit too close, isn't it? And so, in that circumstance.
And how close do you think they got at the closest there?
That looks like they're kind of going to be within a meter of the rudders. And so you think, that's probably just going to be too close because, the Germans are clearly going to get nervous. They want to, if they held on, then they could reasonably think that there's going to be an almighty bang at some point.
So pretty tight. We're on board the French here. It'll be interesting to see how it looked on board there for Contant. He comes racing in at the top of the line. We can see the action off towards the left there. And yeah, he's doing something like 60 kilometres an hour, I think, at this point. So he's pretty committed. And I guess the scary thing is if you were to hit that red buoy, that boat's not going to go sailing for a little while, is it? And the potential risk there, just all on the French. So a couple of metres on that one. And that was deemed as too close. Now, as I say, at the time, I didn't feel like I had a great viewpoint on it. But when we now move on to Bermuda, and we're going to look here at the incident between Canada, I think Rockwell were in and around it, but it was mainly Canada and Italy.
Red Bull Italy turn towards the line, but are they too early? They might be a little early on Red Bull Italy. There could be a possible shot at the top of the line. No! Too risky by North Star, too risky!
This is the umpires. Early start penalty, Canada, Italy, Germany.
I'd associate a pirate flag with Bermuda more than I would Rio. So it's a bit ironic that black flag perhaps didn't come out when we got to this one. But yeah, it was a similar looking incident. A few of the boats, Italy, were a little bit closer back towards the start line than they had been in previous starts. So then Italy start having to kill time, and they'll always tend to kill up the line to try and close the door on people. And here, you talk about non-emotionless. Maybe our two personalities are in the way we watch the racing. I watch it on a telescreen with a lot of colour and a lot of detail. I was seriously hyped up here. I thought this was a black flag all day long at that point in time. And then you came on from your 2D world, and yeah, you obviously saw it a bit differently. So walk us through it from your point of view, Craig.
Yeah, so on this one, you've got again, you've got a boat that there's taking a big risk. Canada's up there, so they get they get noticed that they're coming in, and you're tracking it, going, well, as is there a collision course? Is either of these boats going to have a piece of Canada? And you see that Denmark, are just not quite overlapped, so that's not they're a keep clear boat, so they're probably a little bit out of the picture. And then you come into Italy and you go, well, are Italy going to cut them off? And you can see Italy's aiming straight at that mark. And then you go, well, Canada's got more speed than Italy, and it looks like they're going across. But by how far, and is it reasonable for the Italians to think, oh, there's going to be a big collision here, so we're going to bear away? And for us, that distance was, it was further. You can see it on the upper. It's further. Canada were further across. There was a bigger gap between Canada and Italy than there was between Germany and France. And so for us, we look at it and go, well, we think we got through. And so, we green flagged it. And in that situation, we have two outcomes. One's green, one's black, because we've said, if you get caught in that situation, not keeping clear, then that's it, you're disqualified. So in this circumstance, yes, it was close, but was it too close? And I think that's the ongoing discussion is, you talk to the teams. We've had a debrief. We said, how close is too close? We thought this was okay. And we got the feedback from some teams. Some teams were uncomfortable with that. And some were, no comment. So so there we have it. So now we've got a kind of one that we know is too close and one that we think is okay. And so maybe it's and so somewhere in between is where the crossover point is.
Yeah, we come back here as we see on the Canadian boat. You can see quite how close they are to that start mark there as they come in, and they were kind of through and gone, weren't they? We don't see anything of the Italians, but it's certainly interesting as you come back on board and get to see it from, well, roughly Phil Robertson's viewpoint here. You can see again just in front through the middle of the boat, there's the start line. Here come Canada into shot, and you can see there Rockwell bailing out, Canada spearing through the gap, and it's all happening pretty quick. But, if I'm perfectly honest, when I saw it back and I saw it in the 2D form, I can completely see the decision. I think it's just so interesting, isn't it? We want these team racing, we want people pushing on the edge, but we don't want accidents, and it's really interesting. But I suppose what I love seeing is how you can actually effectively, I don't know how many meters you think that incident there is between Canada and Italy. Is it because you said it was about 1 meter in Brazil? What distance do you reckon they got the closest here?
So I think this is, it's 4 to 5 meters across the front there. So you just hold it there, and you can then see, and it's it is pretty dynamic. So as the boats are coming together, you think, well, would they go straight across at that point, and then there's a turn down, and are Italy gonna get actual bow on hull contact? I mean, that's what we're looking at. Or is it is it reasonable for them to bear away given the angles of incidence, etc.? In this one, they're a little bit, it's a bit of a higher angle of incidence, and so you've just got to look at it and consider it, and then go, well, you make the call based on what you see there.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, when I look at it from these angles, I don't envy you having to make that judgment call. I'm very confident one of the people that disagreed on the umpire meeting would have been Phil Robertson. But having seen it in 2D, I'm actually, I can see why you came to the no black flag decision, and I definitely don't want you keeping these boats at an arm length. I still can see why I got pretty het up and was calling that it's got to be a black flag. It's got to be a black flag. But yeah, it's a tight one. That I suppose my feedback would be probably no closer. Would be my outcome on that one. That feels like that's the limit.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And to be honest, if I look at it from your point of view and watch that helicopter shot, I was definitely wincing, thinking, "Oh, that looks a bit close." And so we both see it from the other side as well, but we've got to look at it, and a lot of the time when you look at it from the umpap, it just takes all the emotion out, because it's like, what's the distance? Is it enough?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, and hopefully a few people will jump in on the comments of this video and give us, whether they thought it was too close or not. But let's move on. I pick out another incident here, Craig. I'm sort of throwing all of these at you, I'm afraid. But there's an incident here between Canada and Spain coming into the final downwind turning mark. Canada with the right of way, but 2 manoeuvres to do. Spain coming in seriously hot on the outside of the turn. Both boats making a left turn. And I noticed Giles Scott, he sort of it's almost like a fake. He dropped his board, popped the board down into the water, but then continued on. So Spain might have been thinking, oh, I've got round the end here, no problem. But then the Canadian boat went a little bit straight for a little while. And I guess as the teams get better, and we've got a couple of, Olympic gold medalists, experts in this combative boat-on-boat racing, yeah, it's going to get a bit more like that, the racing out here, isn't it, Craig? That they are going to be pushing the rules to the limit. And, could Canada have got in trouble? Could Spain have got in trouble? How did you see it?
Well, I mean, on this one, as the boats are coming down into the mark, there's quite a few rules interacting with each other. Canada were originally above the ley line. They jibe onto starboard, and they're going to come down to the mark. And as they're the inside boats, they get mark room, but at the same time, they have to go around that corner. The rule requires them to sail no further than their proper course, which means that Spain are in this position where they're not allowed to push them too close, and Canada's not allowed to push out too far. So they're kind of balancing between each other once they get inside that mark zone. If Canada want to do something a little bit more aggressive, they have to do it before they get to that mark zone, because as soon as they get to that mark zone, then the rules start changing a little bit. You say, is that a proper course? Could Canada come up a bit? They probably could, because what's your proper course, and that's when things get a little bit grey. They come out
you
of
love the grey, Craig. I was wondering how long it was going to be till we started getting grey.
and so it's a game of push and pull. And if the Spanish squeeze too much, then they're at risk, and if the Canadians push out there, then they're also at risk. So in that one, they're kind of tiptoeing around each other. And I guess in the end, Spain got it right, because they just managed to then get the speed to carry themselves around the outside and take the place over Canada.
Yeah, I mean, Spain were on board here. You can see them sort of turn down. I thought they might have turned down a bit earlier. In that sort of situation, does the benefit of the doubt go with the Canadians? Is there a point of certainty where you'd say Canada have definitely sort of pushed their luck too much, if you like?
Yeah, I mean, we'd always say that, if the one's entitled to room, entitled to proper course, then we'll give them their proper course until it's clear to us that they're not on their proper course. So they do get a little bit more benefit of the doubt in that case, and we'll always err on the side of protecting the boat entitled to the room. And that's what we've told the teams. If you're the boat entitled to the room, then we'll give you that bit more protection. Yeah. So in this one, we thought that Canada's course was okay. So we weren't that concerned, but there was discussion through the manoeuvre going, okay, at what point do we get concerned? But that never happened in that situation.
Yeah, it's tight, isn't it? Because I must admit, I did think Canada could have gone at them a bit more aggressively, almost as they came in another incident there. So it was pretty interesting to see that one play out. And yeah, it all ended up fair. But it's great to see this kind of tight, aggressive racing that we have out here on the racetrack, and people trying to use the rules to their best ability. Because, of course, Canada had used that same rule against Germany really successfully, where there was a slight feint in his movement, and he pushed Eric Heil off the course in an earlier race. So it was pretty interesting. Well, Craig, I'm going to move things on a bit now. I want to look at an incident between Spain and Germany at the final turning mark of the event final in Bermuda. And often we're talking about the negative sides of the rules. And I just thought this was a beautiful bit of execution by Spain. They're coming in not with the right of way. Germany have got the right of way, and Germany are going to be going. They've got no more manoeuvres to do. Spain have got one. So Germany are going pretty quick. At this point, I thought it was almost advantage Germany, but then Botin just used the rules fantastically to just touch it on the circle, gain the right of way, elongate his turn, so that he makes himself a big target for Germany. And he managed to park the German boat from having not had the rules. He gained the rules, stopped the German boat, and then brought it home to the finish. And I thought maybe quite nice for you to actually see the rules being used tactically so well, and then perhaps not have to be involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a really smart move. I mean, you can see them, the Spanish coming in on port, and their options look a little bit limited. But then the mark room rules in SailGP mean that if you are that port boat to go on the inside, you're the inside boat, just like you would be going down in kind of your Olympic racing. And so they managed to just get the turn on, get the height, get into the zone. And after that, it's like the rugby player diving for the touchline. They get into that zone, and then that's it. It's theirs, and then they can turn. And like you say, they just basically made their boat really wide as they swung through and tacked over onto starboard, rounded the mark, parked the Germans, and disappeared off to the finish line. So beautiful execution by the Spanish.
Yeah, it was, and I don't know if we'll get to look at it. Hopefully, we'll have a little look at it on the unpack. But they obviously can't see it themselves on the water because we haven't got the painted lines on the water. But they really judge it well. How do they see that themselves on the boat, or is that pure sort of instinct and judgment?
Well, they'll see it on their windscreen as they're approaching it. They see the boundaries on the windscreen, and they'll have the distances and the ley lines, and they'll also have the coach telling them, this is you need to start turning up to get into the zone. I'm not sure if they got the feedback from the coach, but they get a lot of input, and they'll know when to start that turn to get into the zone.
Yeah, right. And we'll take a little look from your viewpoint. Let's get back to your 2D world, Craig, and have a look on the unpack.
Yeah, so as they roll in here, you see that they just slide in there before they get into the zone, before any avoiding actions are required by Germany. So, they get the board down, and then the Germans are left with this, this boat directly in front of them that they think has fouled, and then they're trying to push. Which way should they go? Can they get inside? Or Spain going to have to let them get inside, and in the end, the Spanish just do a beautiful job there. You can see they get, as soon as they're into that zone, then the turn is theirs, and they don't have to worry so much about being on port anymore.
Yeah, I just love the way they sort of start turning. They're in the zone, and then they actually go straight for a while, which is a little bit different to some other racing perhaps. But as soon as you own the zone in SailGP, you're entitled to sail your proper course, even though actually you're on port tack for a moment and head to wind. You haven't got right the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. You get the exoneration if there's any issues there, and then it's easy from there on in.
Craig, yeah, I mean, I've got to say, I love watching sort of fantastic sailing, and clearly we get a lot of that with SailGP and all the athletes and incidents that we have out there on the water. But I did enjoy that one. Nice that you didn't ultimately get involved. I'm still not entirely sure that I'm fully in agreement on the black flags, but I just think that I love it that we're getting down to a couple of meters here and there, and I can see it from your point of view. And I can love that we're getting this tactical racing. So there was some pretty interesting one with the rules, I feel like that. I'm not even going to get onto the one where the Swiss protested the Australians on the opposite leg of the course, because that's perhaps, that's for another day. And the Swiss hopefully won't have too many repercussions from the Australian team over that one. But it's been a fantastic few events that we've had out there. And I think it's going to be good now to get to New York, isn't it? We're going to get to the Big Apple. We're going to get Broadway. It's normally a bit of a show when we get to New York. I don't know what you're expecting to see there. Are you expecting to be busy?
Yeah, I think it will. There's quite a lot of tidal effects, and the wind can be pretty tricky. We saw last year there was quite a lot of incidents going on. So let's hope the breeze comes in. But yeah, I'm expecting every event we go on, there's going to get trickier and trickier, and the boats are going to get closer and closer. But hopefully, in Bermuda there was no contact. Hopefully, we can carry on that theme.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they say Robin's racing, but just not quite Robin's racing in this instant, I think, is what we'll look for. And yeah, I think New York's going to be a great one. It's a slightly tighter race course. As you say, there can often be a fair bit of tide and current on those gates that can really compress the fleet. So yeah, you might need to get home and brush up on your BART roundings rules I'd have said, Craig, before the next one. But thanks very much for joining us now, and thanks everyone at home for joining and watching. And we look forward to hearing, how close do you think is too close? You know, how aggressive do you want to see the boats getting out there on the race course? Drop into the feed, let us know what you think. Give us a like and subscribe if you can. And yeah, hopefully we'll be back after New York with not too many big incidents to talk about, so Craig's still got some hair left. Thanks very much.
See you soon. Bye now.